I'm a straight talking bloke, and I say, put your money where your mouth is. If you want to tell me that you've got a well-trained dog and then you come to me, or I see a video of your dog and it's doing what it likes, then I'm not into fairy tales. And yet on the odd occasion, I do tell fairy tales because I wish I could fly, but I can't fly. I'm too fat. So I have to go down a zip wire. These days they won't even let me on a zip wire because I'm that big. So I have to work in the real world, not in the fantasy world that some people's heads are in when it comes to dog training. I have to work in the real world. And one of the things that gives you clarity and understanding is watching yourself back on a video. If somebody videos it for you, or you videoed it, and you sit back and you analyze it, and you look at it, you see the home truth, the real truth, and nothing but the truth. But you can still be blinded by the light, thinking that the trainer I went to, or the book I read that they wrote, has given me insight into how to train a dog to a good level. If you want to train a good dog to a good level, where are their videos of showing you their dogs time in and time out to a good level, listening to you, and they're explaining about the psychology? Anybody can sit in a classroom and talk about it or write a book about it, but can they actually show you the dog doing it there and then on the spot and explain how they got to that level? My skill set is to unscramble the mind of the dog that the owner brings in, and also the owner, because they've been brainwashed that food, treat training is the way forward. And I'm not knocking it at certain stages in the training, but like I say, all aspects of training have got their positive sides and negative sides. It's as simple as that. In these clips of videos, at no point has a dog not had discipline. They've all had discipline up to now, but they've had far more gameplay to build the drive and the desire. Once I've got the drive and desire, that's when I start to put the control into the dog. That's when you start to see the magic come together. But they've already had discipline, but small amounts of discipline, because as their age gets more advanced, they have the capacity to understand how to switch off the pressure. And the discipline is the pressure. And yet they want to play the game. They're focused to play the game. And that's the important thing. They want to play that game. And I introduce the game in stages. I don't try and introduce the game and want everything to be perfect in one hit. I have to build it up in stages. And I see so many people come to me with a dog that's got so many things wrong with it that you can't just go straight in and fix one thing and that fixes the dog. You've got to fix a number of things, but you have to do them separately. And you don't have the control if you don't build it up in stages. These dogs 3 months before this wouldn't have been doing what they're doing in this video, because I'm building it up in stages. I'm teaching them to hunt, but listen to me. They get success if they listen to me, but it's mainly gameplay. And yet the dogs are focused on playing that game. And as soon as the racket comes out, they come alive. But what I'm doing is I'm showing people how you get the control in a simple environment like this without real temptation. It's just a bare field. But if they're not doing it on the bare field, you've got to go back to the concrete. But we go to the concrete first and we train them on the concrete. Then we take them in the field. Or if we take them in the field and they automatically want to do it, and some dogs do. Some people are lucky because they've got a dog that wants to work in the field and listen to you. And other dogs not interested other than sniffing, doing their own thing. And you could say, well, yeah, it all depends on what you've done with them up to now. No, they're all different. But the thing is, it's knowing when to go back a step and when to go forward, when to move forward a step. And it's really important that as a dog trainer, anybody can show a dog sitting, staying, suppressed. The idea is, can you show dogs with drive and desire? I don't even mind a bit of naughtiness, because at a certain stage, like in this video, and I talk about it in this video, one of these dogs is starting to push the boundaries. Two brothers, but one is starting to push the boundaries because he's more driven and headstrong than the other. The other is a softer dog, and yet they're still brothers. One doesn't really want to go wrong, and the other one is just becoming a little bit naughty, and I love him for it. And I want the other one to become slightly naughty. And people go, why do you want your dog to be naughty? Because it shows me that I've not suppressed it. I've not suppressed it to the point that I've got no drive and desire, or I've let the dog have too much freedom and it's just doing what it wants. These little dogs want to please, but they know there's ground rules, but the ground rules are introduced slowly at different stages for each dog. But why have I got two dogs working here together? Because I'm showing you that two dogs will focus on me, or three dogs, or four dogs. And what it is that tennis racket, that game that we've played where you've seen me just banging it out, banging it out, banging it out, let them run in, let them run in. It's created the drive and the desire to want to be with me. I'm introducing shot here at the same time with these dogs. One was slightly gun weary, gun shy, just slightly, right? And yet I realised that I'm going to have to make sure I fire away from them. The other one wasn't bothered in the slightest, but it's reading the dogs. So I brought out two to give the other one confidence. That's why I'm working two dogs. I'm not showing off with two dogs. I'm working two dogs because one dog was slightly worried about the shot, so the other dog brings the confidence in and gives that dog that little bit of extra confidence. But what I'm doing to it is I'm adding to the game of the tennis game to say to the dog, when you hear the shot, don't worry, we're going to go back to tennis again, because I've already worked on that. I've built that up. So the other dog wants to stay out there and carry on hunting. He's not so soft as a black and white. You can see this black and white dog is soft as soft could be. Turned into a beautiful dog, lovely dog, both of them. But they're both different. And that's the difference between understanding dogs in general, because they're all different. But look at the wag, look at the twist, look at the happiness, look at the desire to stay with me because I've got that racket in my hand. They've come out in the field, they could have just run off into the distance and done their own thing. But look at the focus, because I've got the racket in my hand. They've not been on shoots too soon or chasing game, right? But they've been in the rabbit pen chasing game in a controlled environment. And I've not really got the stop on them really strong at this point, under great temptation. But it's coming. And these turned into absolute fantastic dogs because I built that foundation. And that's the important part of it. I built the foundation from the bottom up. And as soon as something went wrong, I went back down a level and worked on that until it was right. I don't move on to 3 levels up thinking I'll go back to that later. It has to be right at the time we move on to the next level. And it doesn't matter. Some dogs will fly for it and some dogs won't. Look at the other dog out there still hunting, because he's focused, he's driven, he's got more drive and desire. The other one wants to please more. But I love both of them. But which one did I love best? I love the naughty one. I love the one that really wanted to push me, because that dog made the better dog. And yet both dogs turned into absolute little superstars. But look how soft they are. If you came down really hard on these, you'd break them. And you don't need to. And that's the reason that the dogs have got softer and softer over the years. Years ago, you'd have a dog out there, and some of you have got those dogs. You've got that breeding where no one's really selective breeding. They're just bred for the sake of breeding off another spaniel. And you've got that headstrong, don't give a shit, odd dog that, yes, you can give discipline to, but if you don't know how to give discipline, you're not going to get there, because it's knowing when to give discipline, because you can be hard on a dog and still not get what you want. I hear it so many times, oh, I've give discipline. It's knowing when to give discipline. And these little dogs have had very little discipline because they don't need it until we move up to the real temptation, because they're doing it here with drive and desire and they just want to please. And I can see one dog just starting to push the boundaries a little bit, and I can think, well, yeah, you're gonna have to be tidied up in a minute. But he absolutely made a wonderfully hard-going, driven dog, and yet look how soft he is to begin with. Both of them. This one on the left was the one that Andy had in Jersey that was a poor retriever to hand. Loved going out and picking it, but wanted to drop it short. So we had to work on that, where the other one has got a more natural, better delivery to hand. Wants to surrender it, right? No problem at all, but holds on to it. The other one just wants to let it go, and yet he's the naughtier one of the two. You can never tell how they change. Watch. See how the black and white one come in, and the other one had to go round me and then come in? But look at them. They want to play the game. They're focused. And that's the important thing. When I'm training dogs, I need them to be focused on the game that I'm playing. There could have been somebody else walking around the field. They took no notice. They would be just with me. Because I go out and they see me as the fun element. The element of, that's what I want to do. I want to be with Dad because Dad gives us everything we want. Look at the control. Look how they drop to the floor. Right? Some people say, oh, they've been suppressed. They've been beaten. No, they've not. But what they've not been allowed to do is take over. And that's the whole point. I'm talking about in this video, particularly this video, is about I'm now starting to put the real control into them. But they can take the pressure now because they've reached that maturity, that age where they've had the fun element. They love the fun element. Look, you can see it. The drive and desire is there, as you can see it. That you can't take that away. It's in the video. And yet, I've got the control as well. They're not on a long line. They're not being screamed at in the field. I'm educating them. They've dropped short. They've got to go back further to find it. But look at the desire to stay out there and hunt for it. They're not coming back to Dad until they've got it, are they? Look. Look how he goes round me and not straight into me. Look how he turns his head away from me. Because he's a little bit cocky. Because he's not had no discipline. Very little discipline, but he's now ready for it. Look at him. Look at him. He spins around and looks for it. The other one is still out there looking for it. Am I saying anything? No. Because I need that drive and that desire. They got that focus, look. They've gone back out there, hoping there's something else out there. That's how driven they are, because I haven't destroyed the drive. Why haven't I got them sitting at my feet while I load the starting pistol? I don't need to. I don't need to be a disciplinarian, do I? I don't need to be an obedience trainer. I want these dogs to want to play the game. They've gone out there open, there's another ball. Now, when I whistle them in, if they don't come in, then I've got to change my tone of voice, like I do on the video when you watch the video separately without the voiceover. And you'll see that one dog comes in instantly and the other dog stays out there to say, I still think it's here. We've not found it yet. They're learning, but they learn through association. If I allow that dog to get out there and stay out there when it doesn't come in, then I create a problem. I create the problem, not the dog, me, because I've allowed it. So I whistle, and what happens? One comes in straight away, the softer one, and he goes out and gets it, look, and the other one then goes, I should have listened. I educated him without punishing him. You don't even know what I'm doing if I don't give you a rundown of what I'm doing. Now look at the other dog. Where is he? Why isn't he following this dog? Because he's still out there hunting. Have I made a big thing of it? No. But now I've called him in because he didn't come in. Look how he's gone back out there again. Look at the focus. Look at the drive. The desire. Look at the difference between this one who's more biddable and would be easier for a novice trainer compared to the other one that was more driven and turned into the more driven dog, but was a soft dog that didn't really want to bring it into hand as a youngster. And yet I allowed him to harden up, look, by not rushing him and not putting too much pressure on him too soon. I see too many people putting pressure on their dogs, and their dogs fold on them. And then they don't understand why the relationship breaks down, because they're screaming and shouting or grabbing the dog and punishing the dog. Punishment is a real art. It's knowing when to give punishment. But gameplay is a real art. But it's knowing how to play the game and when to play the game with these dogs. And that's the important thing. Dog training is simple. Training people who've been messed up mentally by people telling them that everything can be done with love and affection and food. These dogs aren't working for food. These dogs are working for the gameplay, the fun of the game, the fun of the chase. And yet, where does the chase come from? It comes from me. Where does the fun come from? It comes from me. Everything comes from me. So I am the be-all and end-all of their life. And that's exactly what any of our trainers show you with their dogs. If you show me your dogs in the same light, then I'll promote you to help other people.